Welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight as we feature one of our more exciting and celebratory presentations. This is all about the transition to college, honoring and rejoicing in all of the hard work that your student has done and you have done as a parent to get them this far. These are the final few days of your seniors last year at the Meadows, and wow, it has gone fast. We are just delighted to be able to enjoy these times with you. We have some final words of wisdom to share with you tonight. And we are very delighted as well that we are going to be hosting a featured guest, Dr. Billy Pugliese, who will also be addressing some of the dynamics of the changing relationship between student and parent. So without further ado, let's go ahead and show you what we're going to be talking about tonight. For our final agenda, summer to-dos and logistics, right? Making sure that you keep track of all the little details that that will be coming up and all the communications that your college will be sending you, and making sure that nothing slips through the cracks. Orientation and roommates, how you sign up for orientation, what is orientation, and how to communicate with your roommates, and navigating those new logistics. Money matters, bills, and financial aid. How to access your financial aid and payment plans, credit cards, all of those minutia. Healthcare and insurance. If this is your first student going to college, there's some terminology that we want you familiar with, because the status of your student changes as they transition to adulthood and they turn 18. Your privileges as a parent and your relationship on both an emotional standpoint as well as a practical standpoint is evolving. So what does that mean? And we want to talk a little bit about HIPAA and FERPA as it relates to access to information. Course registration and course placement, how that happens, when does that happen? And kind of, making sure that you're choosing your courses wisely for that first year. Again, you are encountering new challenges, and we want to make sure that you have a balance in your academics and your extracurriculars. First year extracurricular life, social life, and safety, student and parent fears and uncertainties, and then some handouts that we are going to send you via email. We'll send you the link for them on our drive, as well as a link to this presentation or to a more thorough presentation. We're not going to have time to cover all the details that we may want to, and so we encourage you to check out some of the handouts and resources that we have available for you, and always reach out to us if you have any questions. Of course, we're here to help.
So seniors, congratulations. You've challenged yourself and you have succeeded. Savor the last few days of high school, enjoy your relationships, spend time with your family. As you move forward and have new experiences and face new challenges, remember, you can do it. You've already done it. With only a few more days on campus, we want to celebrate with you all that you've accomplished and to remind you to wear your college shirts on May 19th, which is Thursday, when the senior photo will be taken during advisory.
Okay, so some details here. First of all, if your student has not already sent their scholarship information and financial aid packages to Ms. Hines, please make sure you do so, because that information is important for us to report to our board and to the review journal and for perpetuity. So again, just really important for us to track all of that information. Final transcripts, we send them automatically in June. So once finals are complete and teachers report their grades, Ms. Hines will send final transcripts to the college that you're matriculating to at pretty much like the third week of June. So you'll start to receive emails and correspondence from your college about sending your final transcript. Don't worry, don't stress. We send them automatically, so you don't need to remind us. It's part of our wrap up and our due diligence. AP scores. AP scores will be available in July through the College Board. Just like with SAT and ACT, those scores are yours. You are responsible for sending them to the colleges. So to the college registrar's office. If your college will award you credit, I definitely recommend requesting that they be sent. Don't worry about whether the college is going to see any low scores. You do have to send the entire score report, but guess what? You're already admitted. So you don't have to worry about and don't stress about, what are they going to think about, that lower score that I earned in my sophomore year or junior year. We really just want to capitalize on any of that important credit that you might be awarded for the advanced placement exams that you have taken. Check your email, log into your student portal. Colleges are old school. They do not use, or we don't use, admissions offices in particular, we don't use, Instagram or Twitter to communicate about orientation and about, healthcare and about, course registration. All of that is available through your portal, through your students' portal, I should say. Remember, now is the time when all of those communications are really happening directly with your student, because they're the ones that are going to college. And so the college expects them to really be proactive and take responsibility for that information. So make sure they're logging into their portal, carefully review registration and enrollment guidelines and deadlines. When is the time to sign up for orientation? Are there several orientations, or is there just one orientation? How long is orientation? Some orientations fill up very quickly. So, check those out. During orientation, it might be time for you to meet with your advisor, or it might be a more social activity. We encourage you to, maximize it, take advantage of those orientations. I myself personally had a great opportunity to attend like a bridge program, basically, which was a month-long transitional experience. And it helped me acclimate tremendously. So there might be special opportunities if you're first generation, from low-income backgrounds, from rural backgrounds, et cetera. So just kind of be aware of that. Join your college's Facebook group, follow their Instagram, Twitter, make connections with other freshmen. Now's the time when everybody is excited. They're reaching out. They want to meet new people. They want to make connections. Get to know your fellow students and enjoy those celebratory moments. Be careful what you post online. I will just say that colleges do check out, your social media still. So, but just take advantage of those opportunities to connect and to learn more about the community that you're going to be joining. Finally, learn how to do laundry, basic cooking skills, how to change a tire. One of the most surprising things that I think many college freshmen encounter is a lot of students don't know how to do laundry. And before you know it, all your whites are pink and all your sweaters are shrunk. So please, practice the laundry, practice some basic cooking, managing a budget, making appointments, some basic cooking skills. And having those conversations over the summer before you launch into your freshman year.
So you are embarking on a new journey, and it's one that requires you to really step outside your comfort zone to meet new people and make new friends. And for many of you, you've been at the Meadows, you're kind of lifers, right? And so this is a brand new growing and learning experience. And one challenge that you may face is living with someone who's not familiar to you. It can be exciting, it can be terrifying all at the same time. So if your college gives you the opportunity to complete a roommate questionnaire, do it. Be honest. The more information you provide, the more likely it is that you'll have a roommate who has similar study and sleep habits, listens to the same type of music, or has similar interests. If you have a chance to connect with your roommate before arriving on campus, do it. It's a great opportunity to talk about who is bringing what and to get to know them a little bit better before actually moving in. And if the college sends you a suggested packing list, follow it. Campus housing has helped thousands of new students get acclimated to college, and they know what you need. And while it might be tempting to wait until the last minute to pack, don't. Starting the process early can help to alleviate some of the anxiety you might be feeling as you prepare for the journey ahead. And remember, orientation really is important. Sign up early and attend. This is where you will meet new people, make new friends, meet your academic advisor, choose your classes, potentially take placement exams, and learn about the next steps. It really is important. So make sure you stay on top of that.
Financial aid and money. If applicable, please make sure you accept your financial aid package. If you don't need the loan, decline the loan. If you do need the loan, then accept the loan. You should be able to access your financial aid package through your student's portal. Typically, students are not able to register for classes until you pay that bill. So make sure that that's taken care of. Determine what kind of payment plan works for you and your family. And if you have questions, follow-up questions with financial aid, now is the time to ask. You file the FAFSA every year if you want to be qualified for financial aid every year. And similarly, if you're attending a private institution that required the CSS profile, that's every year as well. Discuss expenses and establish a budget with your student. How much spending money are you going to give them, or are they going to, be allocated? And what happens if it runs out? Discuss what happens, in terms of accessing a bank account. I would definitely recommend considering opening a bank account that has an ATM on the college campus, in the student center, because quite honestly, for your student and the flexibility, and also for safety, you want them to be able to, if they need money, go to the student center at 11 o'clock at night and access the ATM. You don't want to have to go off campus. So talk with your student about credit cards. I remember when I was in college, I ended up with like a Banana Republic credit card and a Victoria's Secret credit card and a Saks Fifth Avenue credit card and an Old Navy credit card because they were all accessible, and they really do prey on college students to just, open those accounts. And I had no idea, what all of that really entailed or meant. I just saw, hey, get 15% off, or your first $100 free. So talk with your parents and talk about kind of the realities of how much money you'll be spending. Know that it adds up, quite honestly. You've got the books and supplies, but you've also got transportation. If you're bringing a car, you've got activities, stuff for the dorm, food, clothing, laundry, etc. So plan to spend more, not less. That's just the reality, unfortunately. Finally, with the Millennium Scholarship, we send transcripts automatically for the Millennium to either UNLV or UNR. And if you are eligible for the Millennium Scholarship, that amount is credited to your account automatically. So ultimately, there's nothing you need to do, you or your student needs to do. We process all that information, and then your college, the bursar's office, will take care of crediting your account if you qualify. medical considerations. So make sure that your child knows their medical history and their existing medications, how often that they're taken. Just have a listing of them, write them down. I remember when I went to grad school, I finally got contact lenses for the first time, and I needed replacements. So I needed to figure out where was I going to get those replacements. And same thing with, medication, for example. Make sure your student has health insurance, whether they're going to be covered under your health insurance or you're going to opt into the school's health insurance. Find out what the college has to offer. You might be able to find out these details during orientation or even before then. What kind of access, if they're under your health insurance as a parent, are they still going to be able to access, all of the services on campus that they need? So just find out what those options are. Make sure that you send your vaccination and health records to the college if they're required. So one of the most fundamental, greatest kind of shifts and dynamics is the way in which legally your child is kind of transitioning in as an adult. Once your child turns 18, your child is legally a stranger to you, meaning that you as a parent have no more right to obtain medical information on your legal age son or daughter than you would if they were a stranger on the street. That's true even if your student is under your insurance, and even if you're the one paying the bill. That is according to HIPAA, which is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Similarly, according to FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, college students are considered adults and are allowed to determine who will receive information about them. Under this law, parents who want to receive a copy of their students' academic, health, and financial records can only do so if their student signs a release. So you can get that information from the college, and both you and your student needs to sign that. Colleges really are expecting to have a relationship with your student and communicating primarily with your students. So just want to kind of keep you informed about those changes.
So as we shift kind of into academic life, students, something that you might want to consider is that high school is a teaching environment and college is a learning environment. So what do we mean by that? In high school, the teaching is really directing your learning. But in college, in the learning environment, you as a student are directing your learning. So it's the first time in your life when you'll have total freedom and you are now responsible for you. You're responsible for getting to class, for doing the work, for reading the syllabus and determining what's expected of you. Your classes might be lecture style and grades might be exam based, which means that your entire grade might be based on a midterm and a final. There are no test retakes in college. You're laying your academic foundation starting with your freshman year. Your grades matter. So you'll want to start strong, manage your time, make smart choices. Do I eat cake for breakfast or order an omelet? Do I do my class reading or go shopping with a friend? Do I study for the exam or go to a party? The choices are all yours to make. If you can, get your syllabus before you buy your books and then shop around for the books you'll need. Meet with your academic advisor. It's always a good idea to develop an overall academic plan if you want to graduate in 4 years. And remember, you need to be proactive about your academic success, your social interactions, and your emotional well-being.
For many of our students at Meadows, our lifers, our super lifers, college is going to be a new adventure and a time where you will be kind of thrust into a totally new milieu with a diverse community, students, and so many strangers to meet and new friendships to make. And we hope that you're as excited as we are for you, and that you really make the most of these next few years. Keep an open mind and give yourself time to acclimate and adjust. It's a big change. College is a big change from high school, and understand that there's going to be challenges, new challenges presented along the way, but all of this is about your own growth as a person, as a student. And these are all learning lessons and learning experiences. One of the first things that we can encourage you to do is, just like in the Meadows, at the beginning of every school year, we have an activities fair. Your college also will have a clubs fair. Some of them, if you attended, for example, an admitted student open house, maybe you've already met some of those clubs and organizations. Maybe they've started reaching out to you already. Find one or two clubs or activities that align with your interests, maybe your culture, your religion, offer professional growth, career exploration, and allows you to really kind of find a niche for yourself and develop those connections, or just try new activities until you find something that you like. You're going to have a lot of options available, whether it's joining, a Harry Potter Quidditch club, or whether it's intramural inner tube water polo or broomball. There's going to be so many new opportunities for you. Just try it. We do want to offer just a small caveat that it's really easy to overcommit. I guess for some students, it's easy to overcommit, and those who want to say yes to everything, right? And for other students, you will have to push yourself out of your comfort zone to make new friends and to take those risks. But in both respects, we want to just encourage you to make sure that you are not compromising your academics, that you're always making time for your studies and for your health, for your sleep. So it's so important for you to make sure that you are staying on top of your work, and time management is really a crucial skill that you will be using in college. And you'll continue developing that over time. So just kind of take a litmus test. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you can always take a step back, and you can always reach out for help. There are plenty of college resources out there to help you. One thing we want to encourage is, avoid or try not to go home too frequently. A lot of students are tempted to, when they get homesick, to use their families as a bit of a crutch and a lifeline. Give yourself a chance to acclimate, and give the college a chance as well to be fully invested in the experience. Research has actually proven that students who are involved in campus activities, who are affiliated with campus groups, who connect with a mentor or a club or a campus job, are more likely to persist and graduate and enjoy their experience. Stick with friend groups at parties. Don't go anywhere alone. Don't walk home alone at night. Be aware of your surroundings. One of the most frequently overlooked safety precautions is just lock your dorm room. I think we get lulled into this sense of safety here at the Meadows because it is a safe community. We are in a bubble. And, it's not uncommon, here at the Meadows, you leave your backpack and your MacBook on the library table, and you go to the bathroom or you grab a snack and you come back and it's there, right? Because we have a very honest and very trustworthy community. Just be aware that, when you're out in the real world, you just need to kind of, use common sense. Lock your doors and just, take care of each other. Stick around with friends and again, just be aware of your surroundings. And at this point, I think we're going to turn it over to Dr. Pugliese.
Hi. When Ms. Lustig and Ms. Stewart invited me to participate today, I was super excited because I never had an experience like this going into college, just kind of winging it. And so some of these tips that you shared today already would have been new for me, and things that I kind of learned the hard way or learned along the way. So especially cake for breakfast, that one stood out to me. Learned the hard way with that one. But I wanted to touch on a few things with this opportunity to be able to explore what are some things that are fears for us as parents and fears for us as students. But before I get into the list, I wanted to share an experience that I had when I went off to college. So I was the middle of five kids, and I wanted to get as far away from my parents as possible. I grew up in San Diego in California. And so I chose to go to school on the other side of the country in New York City. I didn't know what I wanted to study. I just knew I wanted to be in New York. And so my mom took me to New York to drop me off for the start of freshman year. And so we spent a couple of days getting settled. Because we flew, I had to go to Target and get all my linens and, laundry hamper and everything settled. And so we spent the first couple of days kind of moving me into my dorm. And then the very last day before orientation was to start, we went down into the student center, and they had a row of mailboxes, hundreds of mailboxes for the students to access their mail in the student center. The cafeteria was down there and stuff too. And so I went to pick up my code, and it was one of those little turn, what do they call the little turn code locks on the locker for the mailbox. And so I wasn't very good at those. I remember in high school, I always had the person next to me unlock my locker. So this was a chance for me to try out the code and practice opening the box. And I was struggling with the first couple of times I tried to turn with the passcode. And so my mom was like, here, let me take it. And she started turning with it. And I was like, no, Mom, I got it. And I started turning it with it. And we were kind of fighting over who was going to open the mailbox. And it turned into an argument, actually, where I was trying to say, Mom, when you're gone, I'm not going to be able to, hey, can you help me out? I'm going to have to do it myself. And for my mom, it was a situation for her where I'm her baby and she's moving me into college, and she just wanted to help me out. And it ended up being such a big argument that she stormed out of the student center and I went the other direction. And we left each other to kind of cool down, and she had to catch a flight. So she hopped in a cab to head back to JFK and called me on her cell phone. And we were both just sobbing through the phone. Like, I can't believe this was our goodbye. And I can't believe we did this to each other. And things ended up being fine between us. She went home and I went on to start freshman year in orientation. But no one had explained to me about the transition that I was entering into in terms of autonomy and ownership of my experience and all these new opportunities. And nobody had explained to her about what it would be like to let go of your baby 3,000 miles away from home and wish them luck and, hope for the best. And no one had also given me the insight of what it might be like for my parents to have that trust in me, to give me that freedom and that experience. So I didn't have the empathy at the time to think this is just a woman who really cares about me, wanting to do what's best for me. And for her to have the foresight to think this is a kid who wants to spread her wings for the first time. And so I was really excited for this opportunity to talk to you all, because I think it's important for us to explore how our roles will shift, not just from, like Ms. Lustig was saying, in a practical sense in terms of, checking my schedule and registering for classes and financially and all those kind of things. Those are very important and can be taxing on us emotionally. But also there's this kind of inherent shift in us in our relationship that can be, it can cause us to stretch and it can be uncomfortable at times. And those are the things where we feel homesick or unsure. Along the same lines, I remember calling my mom as I was walking home from work one night in the city, 11 o'clock at night, not thinking much of it. My mom being like, you're what, by yourself walking home from work at 11 o'clock at night? So these are things like wherewithal matters and gives our parents a peace of mind. But it also makes us safer and those kind of things. So I love this list of top 10 biggest fears for students and parents. And I love it as a jump off point for us to think about what are things that I've examined already in me that I know that I'm reserved about or hesitant of, that's worth exploring and thinking about or talking to someone about. And then I also, after this, want to open it up to you. So I know we have this Q&A box. We don't have a chat, right?
We have a Q&A. So
maybe as we're talking, if you have questions, maybe there's apprehensions you have as a parent or a student, you can throw those in the Q&A. And so maybe those can accumulate while we go through this list. But some of the biggest fears for students are not being happy with the school. And sometimes there's an adjustment period. There's so much newness, and that newness can cause us to stress and feel discomfort. So we're unsure going into it. Maybe we're worried about our roommate and living with someone we don't know very well. And Ms. Lustig talked to how we can connect with people beforehand. And Ms. Stewart talked about filling out that form so that that Res Life really is conscious of who they pair up as best as they can. They put effort in that. Missing high school friends or kind of saying goodbye to those comforts and those things and connections that we had. As those relationships shift and change too, we're not seeing the same people in our life day in and day out as we move on. Choosing a major can cause us to think about, our future in a bigger kind of existential sense. It feels kind of like a heavy weight. Not meeting the school's academic standards. There's so many resources. We know that there's also counselors on all these. Shameless counselor plug. But there's going to be mental health services in your colleges and universities that are usually free for students. And so this is a unique time in your life when you can access free mental health care, which is also pretty unique and pretty spectacular. So I would take advantage of that. Even if you've never done it before, as kind of a maintenance thing or to check out what it's like, I would encourage that. Maybe it's kind of the adjustment of my relationship with my parents, and will they give me the space to kind of flourish and try things out on my own? Or maybe we're concerned about financial problems. How am I going to navigate all this new landscape? And maybe there's more financial expectation on me in college than there was in high school. And then for parents, some of the fears are the overall safety of my child. I'm not going to be the one driving them to class every day or stocking the refrigerator or even managing their day-to-day schedule. If they get a job or they go out and have fun with their friends, I don't always know where they're going to be. Though there are ways to share our locations if you're looking for those kind of things. I remember walking home, like I said, I would be on the phone or I would say, hey, I'm going this place. So my parents were aware if it was something that maybe was had a higher risk associated with it. Parents might be afraid of losing communication or that shift in communication or developing that new relationship with their child. With all this freedom comes so many choices, like we were talking about, so many opportunities and options. And as parents, we might be fearful that our kids might choose something that's different than what we envisioned, or maybe something that has a downside attached to it. And that's where the learning comes from and the growth comes from those opportunities. Fears of dangers, drugs and alcohol, there may be more exposure than students may be used to. That newfound freedom, inability to let go. Again, I think when we're aware of all of these things, our ability to let go comes a little bit easier because we're acknowledging that kind of push and pull and that transition that we're going through. So just that awareness can kind of help us release the reins and kind of assess fear and know that, yes, there are these safety nets in place for my kid. And yes, I have given them, their solid foundation to jump off from, and they have been prepared for this next step. Dealing with empty nest syndrome, we might have more time on our hands. What's my relationship or my role as a parent look like? And it's important to think about how the whole family dynamic shifts when one of our family members moves out of the house. And so it might not just be your relationship with your child and your parents, but maybe a sibling that might shift as well. Or maybe there's more of a spotlight on one of the kids than there was before when that spotlight was shared. So these are some of the biggest fears to examine. And I'm wondering, the next slide, Melissa, if you want to. Yeah. So this just again talks about the role changes, and going back to that story that I shared in terms of me having this new sense of freedom and autonomy. And this is what I was seeking. This is what I was yearning for. And here I am finally having it. And no one had warned me about or kind of, I hadn't anticipated what it would be like for my mom or my parents as I was going through that. And for my mom to understand that opportunity for mistakes or misstep is also an opportunity for growth, and kind of figuring things out and identifying what are my values and being able to learn and continue to make choices in line with my values. So our roles definitely change. And I love that this slide is here, and I love that we have an opportunity to think about it. I don't see any questions in the Q&A, but I hope that if nothing else, there's so much wonderful information in this presentation to go back through, and in that link before to access. But if you haven't already, I would encourage you to think about what is my relationship like with a parent, with my child, or if I have a family member with my child as they go away, or if I'm a child, what's going to be like for the people in my house that I live with? Maybe it's a younger sibling, or maybe it's my parents, and how will those shift? And what would it be like for them? And giving that little bit of reflection, hopefully will give us some empathy as our relationships start to shift. It might give us some insight to know how to navigate that new relationship. Hey, my mom needs more patience with me as she kind of releases the reins. Or she might need a little bit more evidence from me that I got it. Mom, look, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. I'm taking care of it. And that might give her the kind of peace that she's looking for. Or maybe my little brother is going to be riding solo and he might miss me a bit, so I might shoot him a text more frequently. So when you think about how your relationships might shift, it could give you some insight on how you can navigate those changes and be sensitive and maybe feel a little less discomfort as you stretch and grow for our parents, and as we stretch and grow for the kids. So that was my 2 cents.
It's more than 2 cents. That was phenomenal. Thank you so much. I would love to kind of piggyback just with one piece of advice that I have. I think that it can be very hard to say goodbye, like what you were saying, Dr. Pugliese. I mean, those last few moments of letting go can be emotionally very, very potent. Mm-hmm. One thing that I've encouraged parents to do in the past has been to write a letter to your student about how proud you are of them and how much you believe in them, and how they can do it, to give them the confidence and know that they have your full support and your love, and that you're there for them if necessary, but that they can do this, and just how much you love them and how much you're looking forward to seeing them grow. And I can guarantee you, when you give them that letter to open, once you're gone, they'll read it and they'll cherish those loving words and those sentiments. And they'll really appreciate those thoughts. And they might even save that letter for the future. So just something that I would encourage you to do. It's great.
And I would say, I would double down on that too, in keeping with the theme of the mailboxes, of how fun it is as a student, especially this is our first time living outside of our parents' house, checking your mail, sending old-fashioned ways, sending the cards, mailing them to the dorms, so that, or if it's still in the student center for some universities, so that students do have that kind of physical correspondence, throwing a 20 in there, something from time to time. And for students, the same thing. Snail mail, old-fashioned way means a lot to hear from your babies that you've said goodbye to. Even if you're texting every day, if you have time to kind of write out, hey, I was just thinking about you, and putting something in the mail goes a long way, huh?
That's wonderful. If if there are any questions, we're happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we just want to say just a quick reminder. We hope that your student will come to our senior photo on Thursday during advisory, at the end of advisory, wearing some celebratory gear or swag. And it's just a great time again to honor all the hard work and the journey and where we've come and where we're going. So we hope to see you there. I hope your students see you there. The handouts that we will be sending, or at least the link. So a variety of books that we can recommend and resources. This first one, The Naked Roommate by Harlan Cohen, is pretty much a classic at this point. It's all about navigating those, some of those more, challenging living situations. What happens if you live with someone where, you like it cold and they like it hot, where you go to bed early and they're, a night owl? What happens if they like to have, boyfriends over all the time and you're like, that's not cool. So it really talks a lot about all these different kind of experiences and testimonials and how to navigate that. College checklist book, what to bring and what not to bring. Letting Go, Parent's Guide to Understanding the College Years, Majoring in Success, Building Your Career, How to Study, Survive, and Succeed in College. And then handouts, 21 Ways to Save Time and Money, College Move-In Day. That, I think, just figuring out the logistics. Are you going to drive or fly? How much are you going to bring with you? Word to the wise, you can always buy stuff after you move in and figure out what you need. 25 tips to help you survive and thrive in your freshman year, life skills before your teen moves out, et cetera. So we value information and knowledge and want to share that with you. So we hope that this information can be helpful. And on that note, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Pugliese.
My pleasure.
So much
Thank
for
you.
Your experience. And we look forward to seeing everyone at graduation. So congratulations once again.
Thank you.